The grand alien courtroom was silent. 1,000 glowing eyes stared at the lone human standing in the middle. His name was Jason Carter, a simple man from Earth. He wasn't a soldier. He wasn't a leader. He was just a farmer invited to the alien capital for a trade agreement. But now he was here, confused. Surrounded by towering alien nobles. Jason looked around nervously. The aliens were tall and proud, with smooth skin in shades of blue and silver. Their long robes shimmered under the floating lights. Behind a large black desk sat the High Lord Ziren, leader of the noble race known as the Thalari. Jason spoke softly. "I think there's been a mistake. I don't belong here." High Lord Ziren stood. His voice was cold and deep. "There is no mistake, human. You are not the one being punished. One of our own has committed a great offense against your kind." Jason blinked. "Then why am I here?" At that moment, 2 guards entered, dragging a girl behind them. She was young, maybe in her early 20s by human standards. Her silver hair flowed down her back, and her violet eyes were sharp with anger. She wore chains on her wrists. Her clothes were torn and dirty, very different from the nobles. "This," Ziren said, "is Lady Serica, daughter of a noble family. She insulted the honor of your ambassador. She spat on the peace agreement. She mocked humans." Jason looked at her. She was beautiful, but her eyes were full of hate. "Hate for him? I don't understand," Jason whispered. "As punishment." Ziren continued. "She will be given to you." Jason froze. "Given to me? As what?" "As your personal slave." Gasps echoed across the courtroom. Even the alien nobles were shocked. Giving a noble girl to a human as punishment? It was unthinkable. Jason stepped back. "I didn't ask for this. I don't want a slave." "She will serve you, cook for you, clean your home, obey your every order," Ziren said coldly. "You can treat her as you please." "That is the law." Jason shook his head. "I'm not like that. I didn't come here to take someone's freedom." "You have no choice," the High Lord replied. "It has been decided." Serica was pushed forward. She stood tall, her hands still in chains. Her voice was like ice. "I will never serve." "You human!" Jason looked at her, really looked. There was pain behind her anger, pride, shame. "I don't want this," he said again, softer. Serica spat near his feet. "You are beneath me," a guard shouted. "Kneel, slave." But Jason stopped them. "Don't touch her, I'll take her." Serica's head snapped up in surprise. Jason turned to the court. "I'll take her," he repeated, "but not as a slave, just as someone who needs a place to stay." The courtroom went silent again. Ziren narrowed his eyes. "You dare break tradition?" "I'm human," Jason said, standing straighter. "Our tradition is freedom. Without another word, the chains were removed." Serica stood by Jason, her body stiff, her eyes burning. "You will regret this," she hissed at him as they walked out. Jason didn't reply. He didn't know what he had just gotten into. He only knew one thing: this was no normal punishment. And Serica was no ordinary girl. As the two left the courtroom, the alien nobles whispered among themselves. Some laughed, some frowned. One leaned toward Ziren and said, "You gave her to a human? That's worse than death." Ziren's answer was simple. Let her learn humility the hard way. Back in Jason's ship, Serica sat in silence, arms crossed. Jason offered her water. She didn't take it. He gave her a warm blanket. She pushed it away. "You don't have to talk," Jason said, trying to be calm. "I'm not here to hurt you." She finally looked at him. "I was a noble, a leader. Now I'm nothing, because of you." "No," Jason replied gently. "Because of your people's punishment. I'd rather die than serve a human," she snapped. Jason looked away. "Then I guess you'll just have to live. As free as I can let you be." The ship flew into the darkness of space. And so began a story. No one expected of punishment, pride, pain, and something else growing between two very different souls. Jason stepped into the small kitchen area of his ship. The sound of metal had woken him. A cooking pan was on the floor. But what caught his eye was not the mess, it was Serica, standing by the counter, holding a sharp knife. She wasn't attacking. She wasn't pointing it at him. She was pointing it at herself. Jason froze. "Put that down." Serica didn't move. Her violet eyes were full of rage and pain. "You can't control me," she whispered. "They might have given me to you, but they can't make me stay." Jason slowly raised his hands. "I'm not trying to control you. I will not be your slave," she said, her voice shaking. "I'd rather end it myself than live in chains." Jason took one slow step forward. "There are no chains here anymore." Her fingers tightened on the knife handle. "Listen," he said gently. "I don't want to hurt you. I don't want to own you. I just want you to be okay." Her eyes filled with tears, but her voice stayed cold. "You're a liar. All humans are." Jason took another step. "If I wanted to harm you, I would have by now. I gave you food, clothes, space. You still have your name. That's more than what a real slave gets." For a long moment, nothing happened. Then finally Serica dropped the knife. It clattered to the floor. She turned away and sank to her knees, breathing hard. Jason picked up the blade and quietly placed it on the table. He walked over and sat on the floor across from her. They sat in silence for a long time. Then she whispered, "You don't understand what they did to me." "Then help me understand," Jason replied softly. She looked at him, really looked at him for the first time. "I was a noble. I had servants. My family was respected. And now I was dragged through the streets, given to a species we used to laugh at." Jason didn't smile. "Maybe you needed to see what it feels like." "I did nothing wrong," she snapped. "All I said was that your kind was weak." Jason nodded slowly. "Maybe we are, but I still won't treat you like they did." Serica didn't answer, but she didn't argue either. Later that day, Jason brought her food again. She stared at the tray. He sat nearby and started eating his own. "You won't eat if I ask you," he said. "But maybe you will if I don't." She looked away. A minute passed. Then slowly, she picked up the spoon and began to eat. Jason didn't say anything, but inside, he let out a quiet breath of relief. That night, Jason gave her a pillow and blanket in the guest room. Serica stood at the door and looked around. "This is not a cell," she said. "No," Jason replied. "This is a room. You can lock it from the inside if you want." She frowned. "You're strange. I've been called worse." Before she shut the door, she said something that surprised even herself. "I'm still not yours." Jason nodded. "That's okay. You're still you." She closed the door, but behind it, she leaned her back against the wall and slid to the floor. Her chest felt tight. Not in fear, but in confusion. Why wasn't he like the others? Why didn't he force her? Why did that make her feel safe? Last scene, ending hook. In the dead of night, Serica woke up from a nightmare. Sweat covered her skin. She gasped and stumbled to the hallway and paused outside Jason's room. She raised her hand to knock, but she didn't. She stood there for a full minute, then slowly turned away and went back to bed, whispering to herself, "I don't need him. I don't need anyone." But her voice didn't sound sure anymore. The planet where Jason lived wasn't friendly. It looked calm from space blue lakes, white mountains, soft clouds. But at night, the storms came without warning. That evening, Jason stood on the wooden deck outside his cabin. Thick gray clouds moved fast across the sky. The wind howled like a hungry beast. He glanced over his shoulder. Through the window, he could see Serica sitting near the heater, her arms wrapped around herself. Jason muttered, "This is going to be a bad one." He rushed to lock the outer panels, cover the solar vents, and pull the warning lever that sealed the entire cabin. Just before the system locked, he heard a distant thunder roll, low and heavy like the growl of something alive. Inside, Serica jumped when the lights flickered. Jason entered quickly, brushing snow off his shoulders. "Storm's close. Power might drop." She didn't say anything. Her eyes moved toward the door, then to him, then back to the heater. Jason placed extra wood in the fire chamber. He tossed her a new pair of socks. "You'll need those," he said. "This kind of cold doesn't care if you're noble." Serica caught them but didn't thank him. Still, she wore them. The storm hit within minutes. Winds slammed the cabin. Walls shook. Icy air found every crack. The heater buzzed, trying to keep up. Power lights blinked yellow. Then it happened. Darkness. The heater died. Jason swore under his breath. Backup batteries gone. "I should have replaced it last week." He moved quickly, gathering emergency blankets and thermal packs. Serica was still by the wall, hugging her knees. "You're going to freeze," he said. "Come here." "I'm fine," she said quickly, teeth already chattering. "You're not fine. You're turning blue." I said. She didn't finish. Her eyes rolled, and she slumped sideways. Jason rushed over, caught her just in time, and carried her to the center rug. He wrapped her in thick blankets, activated 2 heat packs, and placed them around her body. Still not enough. He hesitated. Then he made a choice. He climbed under the blanket beside her, careful not to touch more than needed, and wrapped his arms around her gently. Her body was freezing. He whispered, "I'm not doing this for me. Just trying to keep you alive." She didn't respond. She was half asleep, half aware. But she didn't pull away. The silence between them was heavy. Then, she spoke softly. Almost too soft to hear. "I hated you." Jason stayed still. She added, "Not because you were cruel, because you weren't." He didn't answer. He just held her tighter as the wind screamed outside. Hours passed. Serica slowly opened her eyes. Jason was still there, arms around her, keeping her warm. She looked at his face, rough, scarred, peaceful in sleep. This wasn't how she expected her punishment to go. This wasn't the human she was told to fear. She moved slightly, and Jason woke up. "You're okay," he said, voice raspy. "Storm's still going, but you're warm now." She blinked. "Why do you keep helping me?" Jason smiled faintly. "Because I've been alone too." Ending hook, cliffhanger. Suddenly, there was a loud knock on the outside door. Jason jumped up. Serica sat up, alert. A knock. Out here, in the storm? Jason grabbed his coat and looked out the small view window. Nothing. Then another knock. But this time, it was louder. He turned to Serica. She looked pale. "Did someone follow you here?" he asked. She shook her head. "No one was supposed to know I was with you." Jason reached for his old plasma tool and whispered, "Then we've got a problem." The storm had passed, but the silence it left behind was worse than the howling wind. Jason opened the heavy door slowly, his plasma tool ready in his hand. Snow blew in. The land was quiet, still, too still. No footprints, no shadows. Only a small metal box lying on the snow. Jason picked it up and brought it inside. Serica followed close behind, still wrapped in a blanket. He opened the box on the table. Inside was a broken slave collar, the same kind she used to wear. Folded note lay beside it. It was written in alien script, but Jason handed it to Serica. Without a word, her eyes scanned the message. Her hands trembled. "What does it say?" Jason asked. She didn't speak at first. Then, quietly, "It says, you are no longer under noble protection. You belong to no one, not even him. You are nothing now." Jason frowned. "Someone from your world sent this?" Sarika nodded. My family. They threw you away. Her voice cracked. They already did. This makes it official. Jason looked at her. He picked up the broken collar. Then maybe it's time we destroy this. For real. He took the collar outside, placed it on a stone, and struck it with a heavy tool. Once, twice, 3 times. It cracked, bent, then snapped in two. Jason brought the pieces back in and dropped them into the fireplace. Gone, he said. No more. Chains. Sarika stared into the fire. The metal hissed as it melted. She said nothing, but a tear rolled down her cheek. Later that night, Sarika stood at the doorway of Jason's room. He looked up from his old book. Can't sleep? She hesitated, then stepped inside. I want to help, she said. Jason raised an eyebrow. Help? She nodded. You chop wood, you fix machines, you cook. I do nothing but sit and think. I want to do something. Jason smiled gently. All right. Tomorrow we'll start with the food storage. Could use an extra hand. Sarika nodded. Then, after a pause, she said softly, Thank you for not giving up on me. Jason closed the book. You're not something to give up on. The next morning, Sarika was different. She helped him carry boxes, stack supplies, and even tried to fix a broken solar wire. She failed at it, but Jason didn't laugh. He showed her again, step by step. She smiled for the first time. A small smile, but real. For a moment, she didn't feel like a punishment or a failure. She just felt alive, but someone was watching. Across the white hills, a small device blinked red. It was hidden under the snow, and it had scanned the cabin. Recorded the voices. Then it blinked once more. Signal sent. Later that evening, Sarika found Jason in the workshop. She held out something. In her hand. It was a small metal charm, shaped like the symbol of her house. My family's crest, she said. They gave it to me when I was born. Jason nodded. It's beautiful. I want you to have it. Jason was surprised. Why? She looked down. Because you saw me as more than a slave, even when I didn't believe it myself. Jason took the charm and placed it gently in his pocket. I'll keep it safe. That night, a silent ship entered the atmosphere. No lights. No sound. Just shadows over the snow. Inside the ship, a voice spoke coldly. Target confirmed. Former noble. Now rogue. Prepare for capture. The hunter had arrived, and Jason had no idea what was coming. That night, a silent ship entered the atmosphere. No lights. No sound. Just shadows over the snow. Inside the ship, a voice spoke coldly. Target confirmed. Former noble, now rogue. Prepare for capture. The hunter had arrived, and Jason had no idea what was coming. It was supposed to be a quiet morning. Jason was making tea in the kitchen. Sarika was brushing snow off the solar panels outside, humming softly to herself. Then a sound, like metal slicing through the wind. Jason looked up. A black ship hovered above the trees. No insignia. No lights. Before he could shout, 3 masked figures jumped down silently. One of them shot Sarika with a stun blast before she even turned. She collapsed. Jason dropped the mug and ran. No. One of the masked intruders turned and raised a weapon. Jason ducked behind the firewood stack. Another shot missed him by inches. He grabbed the metal rod from the ground and charged, but he was too late. The attackers dragged Sarika into the ship and took off, vanishing into the sky in seconds. Jason dropped to his knees, breathing hard. His hands were shaking. His heart was pounding. They had taken her, and he had no idea who they were. Inside the alien ship, Sarika woke in a metal cell. Chains were back on her wrists. Cold, tight, unforgiving. A familiar voice echoed from the shadows. Thought you could hide on a human world? She looked up. It was Karen, her older cousin, tall, proud, dressed in elite armor. You sent that message? Sarika growled. Karen smirked. Of course. You embarrassed the house. Gave yourself to a human like some street slave. It's disgusting. Sarika raised her head. He treated me better than anyone in our family ever. Did. Karen's eyes narrowed. You're not going back to him. You'll be judged, quietly. No more scandals. Sarika whispered. He'll come for me. Karen laughed. A human farmer? Let him try. Back on the ground, Jason searched. Through his old files, pulled out dusty equipment, and powered up an ancient tracking scanner. The charm Sarika gave him. It had a signal chip inside, and it was still active. He locked onto the ship's direction, north toward the icy canyons, where nothing lived except storms and old military bunkers. Jason geared up, grabbed a weapon, and started walking. As he walked, he remembered every moment. Her eyes when she first stepped into his cabin full of hate. Her voice when she dropped the knife full of pain. Her smile when she fixed the solar panel small, but honest. He clenched his fists. I'm not losing her. Meanwhile, in the ship's holding bay, Sarika sat in silence. Her chains were tight. Her cousin stood guard outside the door. Sarika stared at the wall and whispered to herself, He's coming. Jason reached the edge of the icy canyon just as night fell. He looked down and saw the black ship parked on the frozen ground below. His breath fogged the air. His hands tightened on his weapon. One man, one mission, get her back. Jason had no plan. Just fire in his heart. And the signal from Sarika's charm, flashing brighter with every step. He had reached the edge of the alien base, a hidden outpost carved into the cliffs. The black ship sat docked, guarded by elite Talari soldiers. Jason watched from behind a snow dune. He was outnumbered, outgunned, but not out of courage. He pulled a flare grenade from his old Earth survival kit, whispered, Please work, and lit the fuse. He stood up, out in the open. The guards aimed their rifles. Jason didn't flinch. Instead, he threw the flare hard, right at their feet. It exploded in a burst of white light and thick smoke. Jason dashed forward into the confusion, past the guards, through the gates and into the base. Inside, Sarika sat in her cell, staring at the wall. Suddenly the alarm blared. Red lights flashed. The guards ran past her cell. What's happening? She whispered. Then she heard it. A familiar voice shouting. A voice she never thought she'd hear here. Sarika. She rushed to the door, gripped the cold bars. Jason? His voice was closer now. I'm here. But then another voice cut through the chaos. Karen. Quotes, You truly are a fool, human. Jason turned, his breathing heavy. Karen stood tall, her armor shining, a blade in her hand. You came alone to fight the nobles of Thalari? Jason raised his metal rod like a sword. I didn't come to fight all of you. Just the one who locked her up. Karen smirked. You really think she wants to be rescued by you? Jason didn't blink. She's not your prisoner anymore. Karen charged. Jason barely dodged her first strike. The second grazed his arm. He stumbled but didn't fall. They fought, one with speed and tech, the other with rage and love. Jason grabbed a broken pipe and blocked her blade. Karen kicked him down, sneering. She's not yours, human. She never was. Then a loud clank. Behind Karen, Sarika appeared. She had broken out using a loose vent shaft. Her eyes were cold. Her hands shook, but they were free. She stood between Jason and Karen. Karen shouted, You dare stand with him? Sarika stared straight into her cousin's eyes. I'd rather stand beside him as a free woman than return with you in chains. Karen raised her weapon. Jason grabbed Sarika and pulled her aside as the blast hit the wall. Together, they ran. They reached the landing pad. The storm was starting again. Jason helped Sarika onto the stolen speeder. His hands were bleeding. His body was weak, but his heart had never been stronger. Sarika looked at him, confused. Why would you come all this way? Just to get me? Jason gave a half smile. Because I never saw you as a slave. And I wasn't going to let them treat you like one. She stared at him, then did something she had never done before. She touched his cheek gently. You're a strange human. Jason Carter, he laughed. You've said that before. This time, she smiled. Asterisk as they rode away into the storm, Karen stood on the pad, watching them disappear. She opened her cum and growled, prepare a bounty. I want the human captured, alive. The hunt wasn't over, but something had changed. Serica was no longer running from the human now. She was running with him. Asterisk weeks had passed since they escaped. Jason's cabin had changed. It was warmer, brighter, not because of the new heater he installed, but because Serica was there. She no longer looked like a prisoner. She wore soft earth clothes. She cooked with him, helped in the garden, even sang a little when she thought he wasn't listening. Jason never asked her for anything, and that's why she stayed. That morning, Jason was fixing the roof after a strong windstorm. He didn't hear Serica approach, but when she spoke, he stopped breathing. I was given to you as punishment. Jason turned. Serica was standing at the edge of the garden, wearing a simple white dress she had sewn from old cloth. Her silver hair was braided down her back. Her eyes weren't angry anymore. They were soft, hopeful. But now, she said, walking slowly toward him, I want to give myself to you by choice. Jason stepped off the ladder, heart pounding. You don't have to do this. I know, she said, smiling. That's what makes it real. She held out her hand, and he took it. Later that day, under the pale blue sky, Jason and Serica stood in front of the only other witness, an old robot with dusty wedding protocols. It tried to play music, but coughed instead. They laughed, and they said simple vows. No nobles, no chains, no past. Just the promise of something new. That night, Jason lit a fire. Serica sat beside him, resting her head on his shoulder. Do you still think humans are weak? He teased. She chuckled. Only in logic, very strong in heart. He looked at her, serious now. What about your people? Do you think they'll come back? Her smile faded, but only for a moment. Let them. If they come to break us apart, they'll see we're already stronger together. Jason nodded. Then let them come. She looked up at him. Jason? Yeah, thank you for never treating me like something to be owned. Jason brushed her hair back and kissed her forehead. You were never mine, he whispered, but I'm glad you chose to be. Asterisk far above the planet, on a hidden ship. Karen watched a screen. She saw Serica smiling in her white dress, laughing beside Jason, alive, free. One of her officers asked, should we capture her now? Karen stared at the image, then shut off the screen. No, let her go. The officer was confused. Why? Karen replied quietly, because she finally found something nobility never gave her. Peace.